including to many dead people. This was an unprecedented mailing flub that's heightened concerns about the integrity of expanding mail-in voting and mail-in voting efforts. It's a disaster. All over Virginia, 500,000 votes. So that's something you have to think about. We don't want to have a rigged election. I know that. And you have to be very careful when you mention
Donald Trump starting off his
as you
press
constantly
conference
do,
talking
Russia,
about
or you mention China, or you mention
mail-in voting
Iran, or others that
applications,
attack
and there
our
were problems with
election
applications or
system.
fraudulent or not
And
fraudulent
when
or
you have this
incorrect
mail-in voting,
applications going
it's
on.
it's very
There's a difference
susceptible.
between
It's something that can be
applications
easily
and
attacked by
actual ballots.
foreign
If you send in an
countries
application
and by,
and the application is
frankly,
wrong,
Democrats
you
and by
don't
Republicans.
get the ballot.
And I think
That's
that
the
it's
thing.
something you have to start
If
thinking
you
about
send
very
in a bad
seriously.
application, you don't
Our
get the
system is not
ballot.
equipped for it.
That's what the
The
check and
post
balance
office
there
is
is
not
for.
equipped for it. And people should vote like they did in World War I and World War II.
In World War I and World
your
War
numbers
II,
will
would it
be
kill you
in
to
90
go to the
days
polls?
or less.
Because
Your numbers will
unless
be
you were in
very
Hawaii
good,
during
I
everything,
think,
we were
much
voting when
better
Pearl
on
Harbor
the
happened.
coronavirus or the
We
China
didn't have
virus. But it's
attacks on
something
our
you have to
mainland.
look at and say this is just crazy.
But there are
This
people
just came out,
dying
500,000
because they're going out and not
incorrect
social distancing.
ballot applications sent all over the state of
Oh,
Virginia.
he's starting
to
off
many
pissing
people
me
that
off.
weren't living. They had some sent to pets, dogs. This is what we're going to get into, and it's going to be a disaster.
You're a
And it's going to be
disaster.
thought of very poorly.
You are a
It's going to hurt our
disaster.
country.
You should be a leader and be saying,
After our
let me
news
help as
conference
many
Saturday
Americans
night
vote
and
as
the
possible.
pro-
And if I can't win
Growth announcement,
without preventing
jobs,
people from
pro health
voting, then I don't
safety,
deserve to be president.
executive
How about that?
orders, the stock market went up 358 points today. So we issued those executive orders, and the stock market went up 358 points today. It's quite a reaction. The Dow Jones and the S&P 500 are now up 50% since March. 50%. Think if you had money in there, if you put your money in March, you're 50%. The NASDAQ index continues to set new records. It's been up over
Because what's
14
more
times.
important to him
New record
is the
in
stock market
NASDAQ.
numbers than
And,
live
the S&P 500
numbers. The
and the
lives,
Dow
the
Jones
numbers of
are
lives saved.
going
or
to be, I mean,
numbers
the way
of
they're
lives
going,
killed. He
looks
doesn't
like
care
they're just
about the
about
people
gonna
that
be
die. He
topping
wants the
records,
stock
hopefully
market
soon.
to be high. Because that's what's more important to this administration. That's what's more important to Republicans is this. What? What just happened? What just happened? I did I miss something? I mean, is there some sort of breaking news? Let's go ahead and open up you see if there's any sort of breaking news going on. Let's check out MSNBC or something and see what's going on, because he just left in a hurry. Dun, 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 dun. Let's. I mean, for him to have left like that, something must be going on. We're gonna see. We're gonna see what's going on in a second. Let's go ahead and open up. Live stream ended, so let's go ahead and pause that. Don't know what's going on. We're going to.
Any of the top administration officials. It appeared to be someone from Secret Service. I have never seen anything like that happen before in all these briefings. I know
They
my
are
colleagues,
confused as well.
Kristen Welker and Carol Lee, are at the White House right now, so hopefully we'll get some more details from them. But yeah, obviously unusual. And in these briefings, they are reporters who have all been cleared to be in there. You can see right now it looks like the photographers are shooting something outside. Now, often when there's a security issue at the White House, the doors are locked. And you can see the photographers, I've seen this before, where the doors get locked to the press briefing room, and the photographers all gather around the windows to look out to try and see if there's anything going on the South Lawn, where sometimes you might have someone.
Mute it for a second. Ooh, that was an interesting little graphic there. We're going to mute it for a second, and because I don't want to get any copyright issues going on here. But for Donald Trump to have abruptly left this, whatever his press conference, whatever you want to call it, it really wasn't a press conference because it was more of a just a brief, just 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden, boom. They come in and grab Trump and take him out. And at this point, I mean, MSNBC does not appear to know what's going on with why he was grabbed so quickly. Seems like everybody is, there's somebody with a gun running down that way. Maybe there was an incursion. Somebody tried to break into the White House, maybe? I don't know. I mean, that's just that is just my idea right there. Did I let's see, let me escape this a second, because my live streaming window needs to be open so I can have controls over it. Alright, so we are still no information, it appears, at least at the moment. I'll turn on the audio back on in a second to see what exactly is going on here, but as far as we know at the moment, there was a very brief press conference with Donald Trump, and he was ranting and raving about the mail-in absentee ballots or the applications, and that's something that it was clear that he didn't understand the difference in the Axios interview. It's also clear that he doesn't understand that today, and he probably doesn't understand the purpose here. You have absentee ballots. So in order to get one, you have to apply to get one. So if you apply to get an absentee ballot and you don't fill it out correctly, then guess what? Guess what's going to happen? You're not going to get the absentee. Let's go ahead and shut down the image to just, that's not right. That's right. Okay. So absentee ballots, are not guaranteed, because you have to apply to get them. And it's a good thing that when somebody sends in one that's incorrect, that they don't send in a ballot. That they won't send in a ballot for it. It's a good thing. That's worked. That shows the system works. That's not a sign that the system is failing. That's a sign that the system works. Period. End of story. I don't know what else there is to say about that. I mean, we want the system to reject incorrect, invalid applications. Ooh, the briefing room is locked down.
White House,
what's going on?
A whole number of things that can go on that can cause the White House to be locked down, and usually they aren't an indication of a big threat, but so unusual.
Usually not an indication of a big threat, but so they clearly
at the podium making
don't
a speech
know. Again,
when he is pulled back in.
They still don't know what's going on, so we'll check back on that with a second. Let's see. Nothing information on the screen yet. So what was interesting over the weekend, I did my other live stream. I had the brain fart. I'm sorry. I had the conversation about how Donald Trump said that he was going to defer. First he called it a holiday, and then he said he was going to defer the tax payments from the payroll taxes, which isn't a holiday, it's a deferment, and apparently he has the authority to do so up to a year. He can defer the payments, but then a deferred payment needs to be paid back. So then what did he say? He said that if he gets reelected, that he would work on getting them waived. Now, an article was written about a week ago, 7 days prior to his press conference, or whatever that was, that from one of his economic advisors. And that person spelled out exactly pretty much what was in the executive order, except the numbers were a little different. But it was talking about basically that, you would probably need a law to be passed in order to waive those deferred amounts. So so Trump can't do it by himself. Clearly, he can't do it by himself. So I don't know, but in the executive order, there is nothing that actually says that it will be waived. It just directs the person or in charge of that to look up the ways in which it could be waived. So there's that bit there. But then you had news agencies like Washington Post, and I was really looking forward to this particular press conference because I wanted to be able to see if the Washington Post, for example, who was reporting that Donald Trump is going to just end payroll taxes altogether, that's what they think he said in that meeting. Well, I don't necessarily believe that that's what he was saying. If you look in the context of the executive order, if you look in the context of the article that one of his economic advisors submitted to the Wall Street Journal 7 days or 8 days ago, if you look at, in March, what he proposed having 0% payroll taxes through the end of the year. That's what he wanted. He hasn't proposed it. Now, we all know that Republicans hate Social Security. We all know that they want to privatize it and raid the Social Security fund, let people cash out and then screw everybody else if the market tanks. You know, like if there's, I don't know, a pandemic or something and if someone's retirement just goes because of that. So we all know that they don't like Medicare either. We all know that they want to kill it, but and maybe this is a first step in trying to get a 0% payroll tax. Oh, is he back? Is he back?
It was an interesting end to the hour, and MSNBC News breaking news coverage is going to continue with Ari Melber after we hear from the president.
For that. There was a shooting outside of the White House.
Well,
and seems to be very well under control. I'd like to thank the Secret Service for doing their
interesting. I guess that's explanatory. We'll get back to everything
quick and very
else.
effective work. But there was an actual shooting, and somebody's been taken to the hospital. I don't know the condition of the person. It seems that the person was shot by Secret Service.
So maybe he was trying to get into the White House. Who knows?
Do you have something going? No, there are no details. We just found out just now. It was outside of the White House, this area right over here.
Obviously, it was that over there because that's where the people with the guns were.
Somebody is taken to the hospital. It seems that the shooting was done by law
enforcement. Let's go back to
that person, at the suspect. It was the
the other
suspect
window.
who was shot. And this just took place. A couple of people outside.
I want to go back to the other window because
I noticed a man named John Roberts, who you know very well. He reported that he heard shots. He was outside and he heard 2 shots. We don't know yet. We don't know. They're going to find out.
Let's see. We're going to close this. Close this one.
Just told me when he came up, you pretty much saw it like I did. He said, "Sir, could you please come with me?" So you were surprised.
Oh, that's the hill.
I was surprised also. I think it's probably pretty unusual, but very, very professional people. They do a fantastic job, as you know. So it seems to me, it seems to be from what I was said, there was a shooting.
Couldn't find the White House specific stream, but here we go. It is what it is.
Someone seems to be the suspect, and the suspect is now on the way to the hospital. I can't tell you the condition of the suspect. There was nobody else injured. There was no other law enforcement injured. And I just want to, we'll get on to the press conference, but I do want to thank Secret Service. They are fantastic. The job they do.
They're the greatest. They're the best. Secret Service. We like Secret Service.
Yes. That's what I understand. I don't know. You'll have to ask them.
All right. This sometimes sometimes the media is a little bit ridiculous.
They'll have a
because there's no
outside later. I didn't ask that question.
How can anybody know what's going on at this point in time? So don't ask about the shooting at this point in time. We don't know. There's no way we could know. There's no way. There's no way to know. So stop asking questions about it.
Okay, and
we'll probably know more about it tomorrow.
Service in a little while. We'll have a full report. I don't know. Do I seem rattled? It's unfortunate that this is a world, but the world's always been a dangerous place.
Okay, enough.
not
Enough
something
about
that's
this.
unique.
We'll get
The
more
world has
information
been-
as it comes in.
You look back over
Very
the
impatient.
centuries,
Everybody
the
wants
world
the
has been a
breaking news.
dangerous
That was my
place, very
criticism
dangerous
with the
place,
Washington
and,
Post, is that they wanted to be like, they want to be the
continue, I
first
guess, for a
to
period of
say,
time.
hey, we got this information about this report about
No, I
Donald
feel
Trump
very
and what he
safe
wants to
with,
do with
Secret
uh,
Service, they're
payroll
fantastic
taxes,
people.
that they didn't even
The
bother
best of the
asking the
best, and,
questions
they're
first to
highly trained.
verify that what he was talking about
I don't know if
when he said
anybody got
terminate
involved
was
outside,
outside the context of the executive order, and if he really did want to,
terrific-looking
after
people ready to go.
this extension of,
something
or
was
after this
necessary.
deferment, to then
People at
extend
the
that
highest
and then
level of
eliminate
law
payroll taxes
enforcement
altogether.
was
That was
nobody
not part
like
of
these
this
people.
executive order. So
they just
to
wanted
me,
you to step
you take it
aside
as part of the executive order, and maybe you
just to
ask a
make
question
sure
if you
that
believe that
everything
there's a
was clear.
likelihood
Because it
that
was right in this area.
that it could be more than just what
Mr. President,
the executive order says.
because obviously it created a lot of commotion. What made you decide to come back and continue the briefing?
Well, I didn't even think about not coming back. I said, am I able to go back? And they said, you'd have to.
Because I'm the bravest president ever, so that way I'm gonna. I would never think. He should have just stopped it. I would have never thought, and that would have been the end of it, because that would have been probably the most accurate thing he would have ever said ever.
A lot of fortification outside, just in case, but it was one person. Okay?
You said the shooting was outside. How far away from the
Well,
White
they're
House?
going to be giving you a full briefing in a little while.
The White House, or was it right in
I
front
can
of
only
that
tell you they're gonna give you a briefing. It was outside of the premises. Near the fence, but outside of the premises.
So pretty
Near the-
close to here.
Yeah, pretty close. So I was telling you that the Dow Jones.
Oh, back to the stock market. We don't need to hear about that either. We can know about that. But he's gonna, again, he cares more about the lives
level. NASDAQ
of the
is,
stocks than he
setting
does
new
about the
records.
lives
It's
of
already
the
broken the record
humans.
Despite the situation of having the China virus, we have new jobs.
I really need to
arising and
program a little
unemployment
counter
is
that
falling
goes
faster than
ding every single time he's
nearly
racist.
anyone thought.
The racist
and over
counter.
the past 3 months, we've created over 9 million jobs, and that's a record, a 3-month record. If you add it up, it's a 3-month record by far, and we've beaten expectations by 12 million. We're 12 million above expectations, which is pretty remarkable. Today we had great reports on new job openings, and there's clearly a housing boom, which has been incredible numbers in both housing and an automobile boom. We've rarely seen anything like it, and it's going on right now in America.
We're the greatest that ever happened.
Inventories are at
I'm
rock
the best
bottom.
president,
Used
especially
car
for black
sales are at
people.
record levels.
Car sales, that's what we should be worried about.
We'll
Car
have
sales.
rebuilt,
Not human
we're
lives,
doing
not the fact that
a
our
rebuilding
7-day
like
average
nobody's
is
ever
high.
seen.
The Florida's
It's a big
breaking
plus
death
for
records.
manufacturing and construction.
No,
construction.
car sales is what he's
Getting
worried
close
about.
to record territory.
Children are
Manufacturing's
dying.
doing very well. The car
People are,
companies are doing great.
politicians are lying
Very happy
too.
for Michigan, the state of
Cancer
Michigan.
is
We have a lot of
killing.
car companies
Texaco's
moving in. A lot
drilling.
of plants are being built and expanded
The
in
world has
Michigan
gone to
and
hell, but
Ohio.
how about you? How are you?
There is no reason why the economy can't grow.
Sorry, little
At a
South Park
20%
right there.
pace in the third quarter, that would be a record. And interestingly, it'll be a number that's going to be announced before November 3rd. It gets
Before November 3rd,
announced
I'm
probably
sure.
around November 1st.
Around,
which is
yes, 2 days
very
before the
interesting,
election.
but it's going
It's
to
very
grow at a
interesting.
substantial pace based on all of the
Sure.
numbers we're looking at, and
Sure.
probably a lot more substantial
Very
than we
interesting.
originally thought. We're creating new incentives for working jobs, and we're also providing much-needed assistance to those who are still suffering from the effects of the pandemic contraction. And the contraction is now, well, we have the pandemic, we have a lot of great things happening in terms of the vaccines.
Oh, we have the
and
pandemic. We have great
you
things
know.
happening.
I think we'll
He
be
is the most tone-deaf
making
person I've ever
tremendous
heard.
progress over the next period of a few months, and certainly before the end of the year. I think we'll have a vaccine before the end of the year, very substantially, and we may have a therapeutic resolvement very
Is he going to
quickly,
come back with
very, very quickly.
hydroxychloroquine
And
again?
Frankly, that's the one I'd rather have faster.
Snake oil salesman?
Because you'd go in, you'd give a transfusion or a shot to people that are very ill, and they'd be able to come out of the hospital the next day or a few days later. If the states participate in our core-sharing unemployment plan, we are going to be doing something very, very interesting with all of the things that we announced on Saturday. I don't have to repeat what they are, you know very well, and we've had some tremendous success already. If you look at what's happening with the stock market, and people are very thrilled at what we're doing. we'd like to get the Democrats to focus on other than what they're focusing on, which is a bailout of poorly running
Well, then,
states.
Mr. Art of the
Many
deal, why
great
don't you
running states that are setting
negotiate
records.
instead of playing golf?
Let's see what happens with
Negotiate,
respect to that.
Mr. Art of the
But
deal. And that's
we're
the thing.
looking at
The
also
Democrats have
considering
put
a
$3
capital
million up
gains
there.
tax cut,
Why did they
which
put $3
would
million
create
up there? Because they knew
a
the
lot more
Republicans had
jobs,
$1 million
so
and the
we're looking
Democrats
very
really wanted
seriously
$2
at a
million.
capital gains tax
So you
cut.
go to $3 million and you
also,
negotiate. You don't
an
start where you
income
want to
tax
end
cut
up, Mr. Art of the
for
deal.
Middle income families.
Here we go,
Looking at
payroll tax cut.
expanding the tax cuts. that
Hopefully
we've
they'll get
already
the
done,
answer.
But specifically for
to
middle
this.
income families, and you'll be hearing about that in the upcoming few weeks, and I think it'll be very exciting. So a capital gains tax is going to be a lot of people put to work.
Yes, the
And
capital
it'll
gains
be a cut.
tax is going to put people to work.
Capital
This
gains
guy has
tax
no
also
idea
will
what
cut
the hell is
the
going on in the world. How is a
middle
capital
income
gains
income
tax going to put people to work? It's just going to help
So
people
I
who
now want to
invest.
just discuss a little quick brief, and then we'll take a few more questions. But we took some, who would have known we were going to take questions before we started, right? Is that right, Jennifer? But that's the way it happens sometimes. We want to discuss, if we might, the China virus, and the world continues its fight against this horrible plague. Countries in every continent are seeing increases in cases. We have a rapid increase only in cases where it's very interesting because we're so far ahead of testing, we have more cases. If we had much smaller testing, would have fewer, but we feel that having testing is a very important thing. It's a great record to have in many ways. We've tested, I guess, close to 65 million people right now, and nobody's even close to that number.
But no one's even close to the fact that we have the
India
most
would be second at 11
cases.
million, and they have 1.5 billion people.
They have 1.5
So
billion
we,
people, and they
we
have
have
2 million
the
people
number of
infected. We
tested
have 5
anywhere
million
in the
people
world
infected.
by
We
far,
have
and we also have, I think, the highest
What?
quality test. We
how
have a lot
many
of different
times less
ones, but
population is that off the top of my head?
including
1.5,
the short-term and the lab tests. The lab
5
tests
times
take a little
less
bit longer.
people, and we have
And,
twice.
Dr. Birx was
So
telling
you're
me a
10
little
times
while
more
ago
likely
that,
to get
we're down to
COVID-19 if you're an
2 days and
American
2.5
citizen
days
than you have
from
lived than if you
getting
live
the
in
result on the
if you live in
lab test.
America
The
than
other
if you
ones
live in
are
India.
5 minutes to 15 minutes, so that's exciting. But countries in every continent are seeing increases in cases. In recent days, cases have rapidly increased in Japan and Australia, unfortunately. And they're now experiencing higher peaks than they did in March. To the south of our border, cases have continued to surge in Mexico, Central America, Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Brazil, and throughout Latin America. It's really the hot spot. It's posing a major challenge for this continent. Latin America is now the region with the most number of confirmed cases by far, despite a relative scarcity of testing. So when you think of that, that means it's pretty much on fire. They're having a hard time.
Your
We're
pants?
helping them. We're
Your
sending
pants are
them
on fire?
tremendous numbers of ventilators, which we're making by the thousands every month. And we're helping Latin America very much. It's hard for them to come into the country because we have big sections of wall up now. The new wall is being built, which people don't talk about. They used to talk about nothing but the wall. Now that it's being built, they're not talking about it so much, but it's helping
The wall.
to almost
All in
getting close
all,
to
we're just another
280
brick in the
miles,
wall.
280 miles in the most important areas. So that's helping us a lot in terms of not having people come in to the country who are infected with the coronavirus. This
You
global
call it the
trend
coronavirus.
underscores the persistence
Wow.
of the virus, including in nations that apply the strictest and most punishing lockdowns. You have nations that are really tough on the lockdowns, and they're getting hit very hard.
I
That's
don't
why
think that.
my
Which
administration
nations?
is pursuing a
Which
science-based
nations?
approach that
No,
protects
you're
the
not.
most vulnerable,
You're not pursuing a science-based
preserves hospital
approach.
capacity,
You
and
reject science at
focuses
every
on the
turn.
delivery and development of
Ugh.
treatments and ultimately the vaccine.
Ridiculous.
I feel strongly that we will have a vaccine by the end of the year, and it'll be put in service maybe even as we get it, because we're all set militarily. We're using our military to distribute the vaccine. And logistically, there's nobody like this group of people. I meet with them a lot, and they're ready to go. As soon as they have it, they'll be going. But more importantly, the therapeutics, as I said, I think the therapeutics could be great. Initially speaking, I think that would be, if I had my choice. But you're going to have them both. You're going to have them both. You're going to have them both very soon.
Are we? We're sure about
At the
that.
same time,
We're going to have it
urge all
right around
Americans
November
to
1st.
apply common sense
Stupid.
mitigation.
Common
You all
sense.
know what that
Common
mitigation
sense.
is.
No, that's not
Everybody
common
knows
sense.
it by
There's no
heart
such thing
now.
as common sense.
Nearly half of all of the deaths from the China virus in the United States
Oh, there you go.
occurred in
Ding.
nursing homes and long-term care facilities.
China virus.
That's
Ding!
why we have delivered funding, equipment, and rapid testing to our nation's nursing homes to protect those at high risk. We're very focused on nursing homes and senior citizens areas. Anywhere that we have senior citizens, we're very, very focused. We've delivered over 1,800 rapid point-of-care testing devices. Those are very quick. And shipped over 700,000 tests to nursing homes. Nursing homes are being protected like never before. The United States faces a unique range of challenges that requires our constant vigilance. America has the largest at-risk population of any developed country.
We're at risk
By
because
far, 1.5 million
because you're our
residents in
president.
nursing homes, about 5 times that of the United Kingdom and other European countries. Our country also has a higher prevalence of underlying conditions that this virus targets, yet we have fewer deaths per capita than the United Kingdom and most other peer nations in Western Europe. So that's an important. We have fewer deaths per capita than the United Kingdom and most
I don't
other
think that's correct.
nations in Western
Let's
Europe.
see.
And heading for even stronger numbers. But one person is too much as far as I'm concerned. Should have never been allowed to happen. Should have never been allowed to escape China.
Should have never been allowed.
Nationwide, we continue to see encouraging signs.
You're
In the last 7
insisting.
days,
Oh.
nationwide cases declined by 14%. Hospitalizations
Okay, look, country with the highest death rates per 100 population. Okay, we are less than the UK.
Arizona and Florida are improving rapidly with fewer patients coming to emergency
We're eighth.
rooms by far, as well as decreasing cases, decreasing fatalities, and
We're eighth.
expected. And
And Sweden's
expanded
sixth.
hospital
Remember that.
capacity.
Everyone's
So
running to
we
brag
have
about
an
Sweden.
expanded
Sweden's still sixth.
Hospital capacity, it's pretty dramatic when you look at it, meaning we have more room should we need it. So a lot of tremendous work has been done. In Texas, likewise, the number of patients going to emergency rooms has dropped from July by more than 2/3. That's a lot. Nevertheless, we continue to monitor Texas very closely. Terrific governor, terrific people working on that whole situation in Texas, especially at its test positivity rate, which rose over 20% this weekend. Overall, cases in Texas are coming down and have stabilized in the border counties. That's, again, where you have the wall and you're next to, in some cases, the wall. In some cases, you'll have it very shortly. You'll have it all built within a number of months. But those areas were hit very hard, and there are likely cases from Mexico that come in, back and forth from the border. They come in legally. As doctors have found more effective ways to treat patients, the fatality rate continues to improve. Texas has 1/6 the fatality rate of New York.
I like how
and
he's
New
cherry
Jersey
picking. He's
that they
cherry
had in April.
picking things.
And,
Talk about the
you
whole
look at
country.
New York and New Jersey, they work very, very hard, but very heavy density, and there are a lot of different kinds of difficulty. The fatality rates in Florida and Arizona are between 25 and 33% of the peak rates of New York and New Jersey. Again, different climate, a different grouping, different density, tremendously different density. In California, the situation is starting to stabilize and improve throughout the major metropolitan areas. Statewide, hospitalizations continue to decline very substantially, with about 20% fewer inpatients now than on July 21st. California is starting to really show signs of correcting. We're monitoring regions with increasing cases, including Boston, Chicago, and the Midwest, and we're monitoring them very, very strongly and very, very hard. I do want to say that I think at the end of a fairly short period of time, you're going to be in very, very good shape all over our country. Every loss of life is tragic, and all nations must work together to defeat this horrible virus. My administration is going to continue to save as many lives as possible. We are working round the clock, everybody. It's incredible how hard they're working. And people from other countries, we're working with them also, and they're working very hard. This is something that's now attacked 188 different countries. There are a wide range of factors that determine how the virus impacts a nation, such as age, underlying conditions. Underlying conditions is a very big one. If you're sick in any way, especially they say heart and diabetes, that's not a good thing to have.
Diabetes is not a good thing to have. Thank you. Thank you, Donald Trump. I would have never known that without this press conference. Diabetes is not a good thing to have.
Their heart or diabetes
Rest in peace, Wilford
and
Brimley.
levels of pre-existing immunity resulting from past exposure to other viruses, which happens. We must stop politicizing the virus and instead be united in our condemnation of how this virus came to America, how this virus came to the world, and we're going to figure it out, and we're going to find out, and we're very angry about it. On the therapeutics and vaccine updates, 3 vaccine candidates are currently in phase 3 clinical trials, something that would have been impossible under the previous administration or any other administration. And several others are showing considerable promise. We have great companies.
How many times is he going to repeat the same things?
But they're the biggest
the
and the best
same
in the world.
things over and
And
over.
we're working with other foreign companies and countries that have been really working very closely with us. We're trading. We're not looking to do anything but come up with the answer, and we really don't. We don't care. We want to come up with the answer. If it's one of ours or one of theirs, it's okay. We have to come up with the answer, and we're very close to getting it. Some people
We're going to get the answer.
We may have it. We have the best scientists in the world racing to develop a safe vaccine that will end this pandemic, save millions of lives, and that's millions of lives all over the world, and end the harm inflicted by this virus to our society and to all other nations. Last week, the NIH began a clinical trial of remdesivir paired with another approved antiviral drug and anti-inflammatory drug. You know that remdesivir has been very successful.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Experimenting with others, including antivirals and anti-inflammatories.
And we're going to do hydroxychloroquine again because I love it.
Success.
Probably invested in a lot of companies that make it.
Remdesivir to treat over 650,000 patients. On Saturday, I took executive action in its signing to save American jobs and support American workers. I signed directives to give a payroll tax holiday with the understanding that
It's not a holiday, it's a deferral.
after the election, on the assumption that it would be victorious for an administration that's done a great job, we will be ending that tax, we'll be terminating that tax. On the other hand, the other group wants
Ending
to
the
raise
tax,
taxes,
terminating
and
the
they wanna
tax.
leave it.
And now we'll have somebody.
Payroll tax is a big deal for people. It's a tremendous saving for people, and we're going to be doing it, and we intend to terminate it at the end of the appropriate period of time. It's for those making less than $100,000 through the end of
Appropriate.
2020
Let's see.
to provide an extra $400 per week, also in unemployment benefits, and to extend the freeze on home evictions. We want to extend the freeze so people aren't evicted. It's not their fault that the virus came from China. It's China's fault. And to suspend payments on student loans through the end of the year and then beyond. And again, you know, they're paying interest on loans, and they're not allowed to go to their college. So we're going to suspend payments on student loans through the end of the year.
I mean,
and then
okay, good.
another
I would hope that every
extension.
president would do that, so fine.
Fair to the students.
Golf clap for that one.
You have to pay when colleges aren't doing the job of getting open, and I think probably many of them could be open. So I want to thank you all. I'm sorry for the disturbance before. Things happen, and if you'd like, we take a few questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. Haley said earlier today that you've been working around the clock, so there's no delay to get these enhancement unemployment payments to Americans.
Yeah.
Can you give me your timetable? Are we talking next week, 2 weeks, a month?
See what is
Within the next week or two, just take to be less.
So, Mr. Secretary, you're saying when?
or two, most of the states will be able to execute.
Got it. And
By the
most
way,
of the
the
states.
gentleman, you know everybody, you know Russell, you know, but this is Scott Atlas, do you know that, right? Scott is a very famous man who's
Well, why do we
also
care?
very, highly respected, Stanford.
Why do we care?
And he's working with us, and we'll be working
I was
with
a little
us
less
on
chatty
the
during
coronavirus.
his repeating the same words over and over again because I was
Many great
trying to have a
ideas, and
conversation
we
with people on
think
Twitter
what we've done
about
is really good,
their
and we'll take
insistence
the
that Donald
same
Trump, when he said terminate,
So it's great
that he
to have
meant
Scott
that he was
working on
terminating
this,
the
so we
entirety of the
appreciate it.
payroll tax, which he has no authority to do.
We've had some great discussions.
To follow up on that, Mr. President, if you don't mind, you mentioned the states. Have all the governors sign on to this?
We
I
just
don't
had a
know.
meeting with the
We don't know.
governors, and
We're just
they
going to
were
act as
very
we don't want to
anxious
work
get
with
money
them.
for
We
the
don't know.
people in their states, and if they, depending on the state, we have the right to do what we want to do. We can terminate the 25%, or we don't have to do that. So we'll see what it is. Depends on the individual state.
Come on,
But
let's get a
lot of money
reporter
will be
to
going a lot of people
say,
very
when you say terminate, what do
I've
you mean?
instructed the Secretary of the Treasury to
Clarification
do this
on it.
quickly.
I mean, I think he just clarified what he meant because he said the words again, and he's not.
I wanted to just ask you to be clear on the incident outside.
No, stop talking about the incident outside.
The White House. Does it concern you at all that someone who is armed was able to get so close that you needed to be removed from the briefing room?
Well, I don't know if he was close or not, he or she. I don't know if it was a he or she, but
Yeah.
I have such confidence in these people. They're so good. And I don't think the person breached anything. It was on the outside ground, so I don't believe anything was breached. I asked that question, so they were relatively far away.
Relatively far away.
Coronavirus, 97,000 children tested positive for coronavirus in the last 2 weeks in July, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics. Does that give you any pause about
No.
schools reopening for in-person learning?
Because they may have, as you would call it, a case, it may be a case, but it's also a case where there's
It's a case, but it's a
tiny-
case, but it's a
tiny
case.
fraction of death, tiny fraction, and they get better very quickly. Yeah, they may have.
Kids are dying.
Time, but
And
as
if you,
know, the
if you have a
seriousness of it,
smaller
what it
amount of
leads to is
death rate,
extraordinarily
but
small, very,
you
very
have a
much
large
less
infection
than
rate,
1%.
it offsets the small death rate.
Children are essentially immune.
Yeah, I think they're.
No, they're not. They die.
And
They're not
they don't get
immune.
very sick. They don't catch it easily. They don't get very sick, and according to
They
people
transmit
that
it like
I've spoken to,
crazy.
they don't
A recent report
transport it or
just said that
transfer
they
it to
transfer it like
other
nuts.
people, or certainly not very easily.
No,
So,
you're wrong.
Yeah, I think schools.
But
have
yet
to
you
open.
support
We want to get
science.
our economy going. We have incredible numbers despite this. If we could get this going, I think it's a very.
Our numbers are
important time
huge.
To get the schools going, Jonathan. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. In Ohio a few days ago, you said, I'll quote, Joe Biden has hurt God. He's against God. The Vice President has said that he's a man of deep Catholic faith, and he's credited for helping him endure some immense personal tragedy. So, sir, what did you mean by that when you say that Joe Biden has hurt God or is against God?
Well, if you look at the manifesto that
The
that they've
manifesto.
come up with, and if you look at their stance on religion and things having to do very importantly with aspects of religion and faith, I don't think a man of
Says the
religion
man
would be agreeing
who
to the
paid
Bernie
millions
Sanders
of
plan.
dollars or
You take a
whatever
look at what they have in,
to
and you just,
hundreds of thousands
you
at
can't
least
put
of
that
dollars
into,
of
the
hush
realm
money.
of a religious group of
strippers,
people. I will
allegedly.
say that.
Is it
And
allegedly?
I think it's one
I
of
think
the
it is
reasons
confirmed.
why, if you look at polls, which I'm
But
not
I'll say
a believer
allegedly,
in
just
polls.
to
I wouldn't, if I
play
was, I
it
guess I
safe.
wouldn't be standing here right now. And by the way, our poll numbers are going up.
I'm
very
sure
rapidly,
they
as you
are.
know, and Joe's are going down very
I'm
rapidly.
sure your internal poll
He'll
numbers
have to
show
come out of the
exactly
basement,
that.
It looks like pretty soon, because that it's one of those things. But no, if you look at
Well, you know,
the manifesto, I
God
call it the
forbid that Joe
manifesto,
Biden
people
wants
are
to
calling
play
it
it
the
safe
manifesto.
and
My
not want to
opinion, it's
help
further
spread the
left
virus.
than where Bernie was before. So normally he'd be left, and you'd bring it
The idea
somewhere
that
a
Joe
little bit
Biden is
toward the
further left
center.
than Bernie Sanders is
But,
making a lot of people
some
laugh
of the
right
things
now.
that they have down there, and I'm not only talking in terms of religion. I'm not talking even.
They worked with Bernie
in terms
Sanders
of
to help build a
religion, but some
platform,
of
and
the
they didn't
things
give
they have,
Bernie
the
everything.
agreement made, and this was an agreement made by Bernie Sanders.
You're
and
delusional.
Joe.
Delusional.
It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing
Delusions.
for our country. It will destroy our country. We will go into a depression. We will put on regulation. We will double and triple taxes.
We're not going to
We
double
will,
and triple
it
taxes.
will be terrible for healthcare, just terrible.
Or we're going to
We'll have
offset
180
things that we
million people
spend
lose
and
their
instead make
healthcare.
it taxed instead,
It will be
so
a
that,
terrible, terrible thing for our
like, if I
country.
pay 500 more in
Okay,
taxes but 1,000 less in
Can I ask you
premiums,
a question about something you said in Bedminster as well? You said that you're planning to issue an executive order to ensure that health insurance companies prevent or cover people with
Yes.
pre-existing
Pre-existing
conditions. And you
conditions.
said that that had never been done before. But that's not the case because that is the law under the Affordable Care Act. So my question is, why do you need to issue an
Well, I
executive
said
order
no.
for law that is already
Yeah,
existing?
but I didn't say, I said as an executive order. I said as an executive order, it hasn't. been
why
done
do you
before.
need to pass an executive order to do whatever the law says?
To assure people that pre-existing condition is always taken care of. As you know, we've done
He is so
tremendous things
stupid.
having to do with the individual
He is
mandate.
such
We
an
got rid of the
idiot.
Individual mandate from Obamacare,
I mean,
which really ended Obamacare as it would be officially known, because the individual mandate was the biggest part. It was
Well, it's not
also
the
most
biggest part.
unpopular part, where you pay
That's because people
for
don't
terrible
understand how
privilege
insurance
of
works.
Overpaying for insurance, you pay not to have to pay for your health care. And that was a disaster for people and a very unpopular. That was called the individual mandate. And we
Because if you get rid of
terminated that.
pre-existing condition clauses, you
and
need
officially
you need to
terminated that,
have a
and that was
mandate, or else
something that
you're going to have
we have been
anti-selection.
given, thanks for
And I bet you
many,
he has
many
no
people.
idea what that
But
means.
The individual mandate will always be.
I would love to somebody
with
say,
us. The-
how do you
the
deal with
individual
anti-selection
mandate
if you
termination will always be the
if
case.
you
Started
do
up
not
in
have
fact, I
a
don't even
individual
believe, you'll have to
mandate
tell me, I don't believe it's been
while
challenged
banning
ended it.
pre-existing conditions?
And pre-existing conditions, the Republicans are 100% there.
No,
And I'll
the Republican
be,
plan.
issuing at some point in the not-too-distant future a very strong statement on that, probably in the form of an executive order.
Another executive order that's meaningless.
Executive order if it's already a part of
Just a
existing law.
double safety net and just
A
to let
double
people know
safety
that the
net.
Republicans are
I'm the
taking
only one who did an executive order on a law that already existed. Yes, you're the only idiot.
taking care of
You were an idiot. There's no need to sign it.
It's
I'm going to sign an executive order that says that humans need to breathe.
It's a second.
Humans need
platform
oxygen to
where
live. That's my executive order.
pre-existing conditions will be taken care of 100% by
Such
Republicans
a
and the Republican
moron.
Party. I think it's a I
Covfefe.
actually think it's a very important statement. Yes, please.
President, do you still intend to try to hold an in-person G7 meeting in the United States at some point in August?
Someone
and
needs to
September?
ask
Have
him
you
about
already
that.
sent out
Just to
invitations
clarify the thing
G7?
about the
We haven't sent out
terminate of the payroll
invitations.
tax,
We're talking
because
to them, as you know, I was on the phone with many of them yesterday with respect to Lebanon, which is truly one of the saddest, most catastrophic things I've ever seen.
I mean,
And they have no
I'm
idea how
confident
many
in
people
what
have
he said,
died
but
having
there are these people that are just
revolution
nagging me
going
on
in that
Twitter
country.
that are just,
It's,
I'm sorry,
just a terrible
I
thing.
should not use that
And-
word.
But I was yesterday 8 o'clock.
Nagging
in
is
the
a sex
morning.
word.
We had
They
an
are
hour
bothering
today,
me on Twitter,
a big,
trying to
teleconference
insist
call. Some of those
that,
people were there.
insist
I'm much
that
more
Trump
inclined
is
to do it
meant
sometime
that he
after
was
the
going to
election.
nuke the
We
entire
were going to
payroll
do it
tax
in
altogether
September. They'd like to do
by
it.
fiat.
We could do it through teleconference, or we could do it through a meeting, but I sort of am now suggesting, I told my people yesterday,
Ugh.
actually, why don't we do it sometime after the election, when things are a little bit, you have a little more time to think about it, because it's very important. The G7 is very important.
To that meeting?
I don't know, but we have invited a number of people to the meeting. I certainly would invite him to the meeting. I think he's an
Yeah.
important factor. But
But is he
we
in the
will
G7?
invite certain people that aren't in the G7. Some people have already accepted, but we're going to be doing it after the election.
This
I think
idiot.
it's a better atmosphere to have a G7. I think
This
it's a lot.
moron.
I think it's just a better, calmer atmosphere to have a G7. Yeah, please.
I wanted to ask Secretary Mnuchin, actually, have you spoken to any Democrats since Friday, or have they reached out to you at all about restarting negotiations?
I've spoken to several Democrats. I have not spoken to Schumer and Pelosi since then.
Do you expect, would you reach out at all to them to try and resolve
I
this?
said anytime they want to meet and they're willing to negotiate and have a new proposal, we're more than happy to meet.
They're hurting people very badly. This would have been
They're
so
hurting
easy
people.
for them to do.
They have a bill on
And I saw
McConnell's
that
desk.
Senator Schumer said
It's been
today
there
on
for
a
weeks.
show.
The
on a
bill's
show,
there.
he said today on the
McConnell's
show
sitting on it. It's
we
not the
should- we-
Democrats
we
that are
should
hurting people.
Do something, but you know, where has it been for
Dumbass.
how many weeks have you been negotiating? Like 4. And they should do something. It would have been so much easier than doing it the way we did it. But we did something that's very important, and frankly, it's been well received, very well received. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You tweeted earlier today that you're considering Gettysburg as a venue for your speech for the RNC nomination acceptance. What's your thinking behind that as a possible location?
Well, I think I've been to Gettysburg.
I want to have a Gettysburg Address too, since Lincoln was the second best for black people. I want to be the best for black people and give my own Gettysburg Address.
Actually, to me, it was very important.
I want to set up a post office box in Gettysburg and have a Gettysburg Address.
And we're looking at the White House. The White House would be very much easier for Secret Service. You see what just went on here. They're all here. Just like you have your seats, they have their seats at the White House. So there wouldn't be any expense or any extraordinary expense. And the White House would be a lovely place to do it also. Least expensive place that you could do it would be at the White House. This is a government expense. And look, I watch also with governments. I watch to make sure that we do what's right. But we're looking at Gettysburg and we're looking at the White House. And we have other sites too, but I think these would be two really beautiful sites. Jennifer?
Mayor, would you envision having an audience for that speech?
You could. You have plenty of room at both.
I mean, they had an audience at
I see John Roberts. John, you were outside. You said you heard
South
shots
Dakota.
before?
2 shots in rapid succession just after you took the podium.
And they were shots, pretty much.
It certainly
You
sounded like
definitely
a
know the difference. I know that. You know the difference. You thought they were shots, John?
Definitely sounded like
I
gunfire.
saw your report inside when I went inside. It's a good report too. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Jennifer, please.
Can you give us an update on China? Do you think your administration will respond to the sanctions that China announced this morning on American officials?
Well, we've already responded in many different ways.
We've responded in all the ways.
Talking a lot about China. We shouldn't have been talking about China. We did a phase 1 deal, and it was a wonderful deal, and all of a sudden it means very little in the overall import of things. They should have never allowed what happened to the world, including us. But this was released into Europe, and it was released into the U.S., and it was released.
And it was
all
released
throughout
into
the
Europe.
world.
It went to Europe, and
Released into
it
China.
came from Europe to
And we were doing
America,
what
and
we
you were
were
just
supposed
too
to do,
focused
and
on
we were
China.
capable,
And that's
we
probably
hope to be
part of the
able to
reason
do
why we have
perhaps
such
even
the
next year.
infection
We're
rates that
gonna
we
have
do,
a
because you
credit
didn't
union next year, but
take it
that will
seriously.
never
You said
pay
wanted
for
to be
the loss of life
racist
in our country and all over the world. So
and not
we
listen to
are-
experts
we
who
view
told you that
China
there was
differently than we
better
did
ways
8
to
months ago.
fight the spread of
much
COVID-19.
Yes,
Or
please.
Still any consideration of delisting Chinese companies? Is that an ongoing discussion?
Delisting?
Delisting Chinese companies?
We never comment on specific things, but no, there's
Could
nothing
it
in
still be on the
particular.
table?
There's again, nothing specifically at the moment done. Are you talking about delisting,
From the US
companies
stock
on the
exchange?
exchange?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, so just to be clear, we did make the recommendation, and the SEC will be putting out, but yes, as of the end of next year, if they do not fully comply, and that's Chinese companies, any other companies, they all have to comply with the same exact accounting.
Why do all
and
of
they will be
Trump's
delisted on the exchanges.
people that work for him look like cartoon villains?
And
Like,
Jennifer, we're also talking on the
they all look like
WTO,
cartoon
World
villains.
Trade Organization. China's treated much differently than we are. This should have been handled many years ago when it first happened, but they're treated as a nation that's developing. They're treated as what they call a developing nation, which gives them tremendous incentives and advantages over and above what the United States gets and over and above what other countries get also. This is a developing nation? I don't think so. I don't think for purposes of what we're talking about it should be. And we are putting in, and we've already put in a request that China should no longer be declared a developing nation and have advantages over the U.S. And I told them that a year ago, and I told them that 2 years ago, and we put it in very
I told him that 3 years ago and 4 years
They
ago
should
and
not have
7.
advantages
He's probably
over
mad that they didn't let him
other countries,
produce his
frankly.
ties there, which is why he had to move this tie manufacturing to Mexico,
by numerous
not in
presidents
America. He
a long
wouldn't
time
have. He
ago,
wouldn't
because
make
it
his
gives
ties
them
in
a
America. No,
tremendous,
can't do
a
that.
tremendous boost over everybody else, and it's a very unfair situation. No, we are upset with China because of what they did.
China.
China was not good, and China will be. If you look at what's going to happen, whether it's Iran, Iran will make a deal with us in a month after the election's over if we win the election. But their greatest dream in the world is that Joe Biden wins because they will own this country. China will own this country. North Korea will own this country. They will own our country.
You're delusional as the head of North Korea.
If we have a win on November 3rd, we will have a deal with, in my opinion, Iran within 1 month. And I don't know that we want to have a deal with China, to be honest with you. So I'm saying to myself, gee, but China wants us to lose very badly. And you know who else is not happy with us winning? Russia. The phony people that tell the story, the fake news.
Russia loves you. You've ceded so much of our...
I raised $400 billion extra
in the world.
In NATO.
Our influence in the world, you've ceded it in the Middle East.
$400 billion, and that's a year. In order to
screw over NATO, speak badly of NATO.
We became the biggest.
You worship the ground that Putin wants. You wish you were Putin.
You look at what we have. We're energy independent. So many different things. Our military is stronger than it ever was. We spent $2.5 trillion.
Our military was not strong.
I exposed.
Or was not weak. It did not need to be strengthened under Obama. It was not weak under Obama. We had the strongest military in the world under Obama.
Nobody
despite
knew
your
nobody talked about it. I said, "What's this
craziness?"
So we protect Germany from Russia, and Germany pays Russia billions of dollars a year for energy, and it's a big portion of Germany's energy. If I was a person that was a German citizen, I would not be happy with that deal because they're at a very big disadvantage. So, no, Russia would not be happy, and I can tell you that China would not be happy at all.
Not happy. No, China's not happy with me.
Tens of billions of dollars. There's your head of the Treasury.
Because you were racist.
We've taken in tens of billions
Anybody
of
who insists on calling this the China virus or the Kung flu or whatever it is you want to call it, anybody who insists on doing that, if you're no person from China is going to like you. Period. Because you're a racist.
Of China to our great farmers and ranchers because they were unfairly targeted by China. In order to make a better deal with us, we're not going to do that.
Your actions caused the farmers' sales to go down, and that's why you had to pay the money to the farmers. Your actions hurt the farmers, so and then you probably needed to be strong-armed to take action to help the farmers.
To the farmers and ranchers and some others, frankly. We had.
I'm going to create. This is what Republicans do. They create problems, and then they say, "Yay, I fixed it."
Still receiving that money.
They don't even fix it.
If
make it worse.
If we win the election, we'll have deals with a lot of countries very fast.
If we win the election, why not make the deals now?
Because they are hoping that Joe Biden wins.
So much for the art of the deal.
You know what's going to happen? China will own us. Our markets will crash. The 401ks will go down to practically nothing.
They'll go down to 101ks because I don't understand things, how they work.
These big companies, they're owned by millions of people that are carpenters and policemen and farmers and lots of other people. And
there's this farmer. His name is Old MacDonald. He had a farm. E-I-E-I-O.
The 401ks, the stocks, the economy will be in a shambles.
Words, just a stream of conscious, covfefe, rambling, person, woman, man, camera, TV.
Ultimately, they can't pay for what they want to do anyway, and what they're going to do is destroy your health care and destroy so many other things. We're going to have 180 million people that are so happy with their private health care, they're going to lose it under this crazy plan that these people.
So 180 million people.
You will have a crash.
So not the entirety of the country. Not the entirety of the country. Only half the country. He only cares about half the country.
You just mentioned President Putin and the possibility of inviting him here because he's important. Your own Director of National Intelligence has said that Russia is currently planning or actually meddling in the election. Have you raised that directly with Putin ever?
They said China, Russia, Iran, and probably others. But because of the fake news, they seem to think Russia plays the best. So
because of the fake news. Because of the fake news. So is the Lugan press.
Saying the way the politicians look. The other day they said the three countries. They said
Trump's
China,
next book's going to be called My Struggle.
And Iran. And some reporter got up and said Russia is meddling. I said, well, didn't it mention China and Iran? Why didn't you mention them too? So,
because they're not doing what Russia's doing, you dimwit.
I'll tell you who's meddling in our elections. The Democrats are meddling. by wanting and insisting on sending mail-in ballots with his corruption.
Oh, here we go back to the beginning.
What happened in New York, a small, relatively small race with Carolyn Maloney. And they called her the winner the other day because I was mentioning it at conferences and getting...
Everything has to do with you. Herr Donald.
They called her, they declared her the winner. And they have no idea who won. And the person, her opponent, is very angry. But they had mail-in voting. And they had hundreds and I think even thousands of ballots that are missing, that were fraudulent. Take a look at the Carolyn Maloney race. Take a look at Paterson, New Jersey. Take a look now at this one in Virginia, where they mailed out 500,000 applications. And they go into people that aren't supposed to be getting an application.
Who cares what gets an application?
Thank you, sir.
To get the application, and then because either it doesn't get filled out, it doesn't come back.
On when the
How it
travel
works.
restrictions with the EU are going to be listed. It seems strange we're offering exemptions for professional athletes, but not K-1 visa holders, the so-called.
Well, we try and do the best we can. You have big sporting events, and that's good for our economy. That's good for us, and they do talk about certain exemptions, and they make sure everyone's perfectly tested and everyone comes in 100%. But, you know, we do make certain accommodations because you do have star athletes, and that means a good thing for the country. That's economic development, etc. But we are working very closely with Europe and with other countries to see what's the best timing. Don't forget, I was the one that turned Europe off because they really...
You turned a lot of people off, Donald. Not just Europe. You've turned a lot of people off.
In terms of they got hit earlier than we did.
Phrasing!
Quite a bit earlier than we did. So I put the restrictions on Europe. I put the restrictions on China, which was a great thing to do. In retrospect, we're getting, I mean, that was a very important day. Dr. Fauci said that was one of the most important days. And a lot of people didn't want me to do it, but we first put a ban on anybody from China coming in, and then we put a ban on Europe coming in. But we're working very closely with Europe to see when that will all come off. Yeah, please.
If 160,000 people had died on President Obama's watch, do you think you would have called for his resignation?
No, I wouldn't have done that. I think it's
sure. You just wanted him to remove because the birth certificate crap.
What we've been able to do. If we didn't close up our country, we would have had 1.5 or 2 million people already dead.
If you would have done more, like, you know, start testing early and not said it would have gone away like a miracle, we might have had less than 100,000 deaths.
The closest thing is in 1917, they say, right? The great pandemic certainly was a terrible thing where they lost anywhere from 50 to 100 million people. Probably ended the Second World War. All the soldiers were sick. That was a terrible situation, and highly contagious.
The Spanish flu ended the Second World War?
No, if I would
that should be breaking news.
To a lot of people, we would have kept it open.
Hashtag
by the way, we keep it open now, all the way. We keep it open, but we would have kept it open.
According to the Donald Trump
2 million people right now.
Press
1.5 to 2
conference,
our people have done a fantastic
Spanish
job. Our consultants
flu
and our doctors,
probably ended the Second World War.
What we've done with ventilators has been amazing. What we've done with medical equipment has been incredible. We've supplied the government.
Wow.
Nobody, not one person in this country.
Wow. I need to
get it. And you know,
isolate that audio and put it on the podcast on Wednesday. Holy crap.
Comparable to what
Holy crap. How?
We would have lost, if you think about it, you had mentioned 160,000 people. Multiply that times 10 right now. I think it would have
been
unsustainable
Trump?
and unacceptable. But that's what would have happened had we kept it open. So, no, I think we're a very large country. We are one person. I say it all the time. A lot of people like to leave that out. One person is too many. It should have never happened.
It should have never happened. And you were responsible for many of those deaths. And your insistence on, if you would have just worn a mask from the beginning.
The people that have worked on this so hard will never be given the credit, but they've done an extraordinary job with a very large, diverse country. Really an extraordinary job. And a lot of the governors who, as you know, they sort of do the micro in their states. And they go up, and I think I can tell you that a lot of the governors have done an extraordinary job too. Yeah, please go ahead.
This idiot president.
Did you ask the U.S. ambassador in Brazil to focus his efforts in eliminating ethanol tariffs in Brazil?
You have to, you can't, yeah.
Ask the ambassador in Brazil to focus his efforts to eliminate ethanol tariffs in Brazil.
We haven't really discussed that too much, but at some point we probably will be. And we don't want people tariffing us. And if they tariff us, although I must tell you, I have a very good relationship with
I like the tariffs.
Bolsonaro. He's great.
I like tariffs, except when they tariff us, but tariff them, tear us apart.
Having COVID-19, as they say.
Oh, Jesus.
And that's great, and send them my regards. I think that as far as Brazil is concerned, if they do tariffs, we have to have an equalization of tariffs, and we are going to be presenting something having to do with tariffs and fairness and tariffs, because we have many countries for many years that have been charging us tariffs to do business, and we don't charge them. And it's called reciprocity. It's called reciprocal tariffs. And you may be seeing something on that very soon. Did you have one, OAN? OAN, please.
OAN. Oh, jeez.
Thank you for coming back to finish the briefing.
Thank you.
Let's kiss your ass, because we're OAN.
So I have an opinion question for you.
Okay.
Joe Biden is set to announce his running mate at any time now. We expect him to announce her. Many of your supporters feel that the reason that Obama's former NSA, Susan Rice, is at the top of Biden's list is that she can best cover up a lot of the Obamagate surveillance.
Oh my God.
During your campaign. What are your thoughts?
Who takes OAN serious anymore, except for Donald Trump, clearly?
How do you feel about it?
Well, look, the Obama campaign spied on our campaign, and they've been caught, all right? And now let's see what happens to them. But they have been caught. They've been caught red-handed. It's probably treason. It's a horrible thing they did. It probably never happened before. At least nobody got caught doing it. But they used the intelligence agencies of our country to spy on my campaign, and they have been caught. And there are a lot of people involved. I don't want to say how much she's involved. Frankly, if he chooses her...
If OAN should just change its name to Pravda.
We'll see, but...
And whoever runs OAN should
just
change their name to
Joe
Goebbels.
Biden knew about it.
Because just combine the two, and you have this mega
knew about it.
propaganda website.
Brennan, Clapper, the whole group. They all
Clapper.
Lisa Page, and her lover Strzok, they all knew about it. And we have it documented. We have it in texts. We have it in all sorts of forms. They knew about it. It was a terrible thing. Should have never happened.
Why aren't you actually going after them?
Happen again to a president.
Because you know you're full of crap.
Happen again. This was a setup like we've never seen. I think it's the political crime of the century.
They're probably saying all this and making a big deal about this because they're probably trying to do the exact same thing with Joe Biden. And he's not. They're not going to get to the question about what he specifically meant about the whole terminate thing, so I can finally put to rest on Twitter that I was right. Still thinking I was right because he said that. So let's go ahead and we will pause the live video and just recap a few things. Again, according to Donald Trump, again, maybe I heard this incorrectly, but I'm pretty sure that he said that the Spanish flu was the end of World War II. Was the cause of the end of World War II. What? Ridiculous. Again, he's talking about how he won't waive the taxes owed until after he becomes reelected. He's holding that over our heads. So again, he's ridiculous. He's an idiot. He's a bully. He's a mafioso type. That's the end of that. Is what it is, to use his words. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. We'll have this up later, obviously, for everybody to watch if you didn't watch during. And please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the channel with your friends. You can follow me at Liberal Dan Radio on Twitter, Facebook.com/LiberalDan. And if you want to support the podcast, you can listen to the podcast Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central on blogtalkradio.com/LiberalDan. You can also Anchor.fm/LiberalDan is my minicast. I do some other topics there as well. My last episode was about my previously racist phone. It's a story where my phone failed me. And what else? The Patreon.com/LiberalDan as well to support the podcast as well. So until the next live stream or until Wednesday, thank you very much. Stay healthy, stay safe, wear a mask, stay socially distanced.